podcasting from Innovation Works in downtown London, Ontario, home of the London Knights, the White Rhino, and a million trees. I'm Chelsey, and I'm your host for Mind Your Mind's inaugural podcasting season. Hello and welcome to the final episode of Mind Your Mind's inaugural podcasting season. In this episode, we'll be hearing from musicians such as Switchfoot, Carl Wolf, and Lights. Being a young person can be difficult. With roles and responsibilities that are constantly changing, it can be extremely hard to navigate these years. Through the transformational ages of 15 to 29, we are expected to do a lot, from learning how to drive, to picking a career path, moving out, and navigating life as a total independent. Nothing about this is easy to manage on your own. Thankfully, we have people who have gone through a similar process, and they are able to now give us advice, whether they be 2, 5, 10, or 20 years older than us. In this episode, we'll feature the question, what advice do you have for youth? The first artist we asked was American punk rock sensation Anti-Flag. The band has been together for 20 years and have released 10 albums. Let's listen to what they had to say.
My only advice is to play music and to find or do something that makes you happy. And most of the time parents or whatever don't think that you should be an artist or you should travel the world or you should do all these things. You should go to school and be a better person. School will always be there. Going and playing music or going and traveling around the world or painting or whatever you need to do, whatever art or creative thing makes you happy.
Next we hear from post-hardcore band Alexis on Fire, originally from St. Catharines. Let's hear what they had to say.
Throw in your favorite album and sit back, listen to the lyrics, and just kind of erase your mind of everything and just listen to, because I find with me, music kind of moves me a lot, and like if I'm going through bad times, maybe even for a day, like I woke up kind of like on the wrong side of the bed for whatever reason, you don't even know why, I'll throw on like one of my favorite CDs and listen to it, then automatically, like snap of a finger, it just kind of changes my whole mood.
We got a chance to interview Finnish band Apocalyptica back in 2008. Wow, almost 10 years ago. Let's hear what they had to say.
First of all, what can we say you? Because we are mentally also not very stable, and by our knowledge, there is actually not existing a person who is stable and who is not having any problems with the mental health. So, therefore, never be ashamed if you have one, if you feel depressed, or if you feel like you are different, because basically every people is different, and therefore never give up. If you feel bad, try to find help in time, friends, from wherever, but do that.
And take care of yourself.
And each others.
And make things, go out, make some exercise, work out, read the books, don't chat in the internet all the time, make a different kind of things. Try to find some people to love.
Chatting is good in internet.
Make love, yeah, and
there's not a simple single advice. I think everybody should have people around who take care, and I think in general in the world we should concentrate much more on taking care of each others, because we live in the world at the moment where we all the time think only about individual persons. And we are learning the mantra that everything is possible if you believe on yourself, and that's partly true. But the other side of the thing is that nobody can make the things happen alone. So we need to be connected to other people and take care of each others. Mm-hmm. And I think this kind of thinking would avoid a lot that some people just drop off because they are not taken care by anybody. I think that's the issue. These people who are doing such a stuff, they feel that they are leftovers, you know. They start to hate people because nobody took care of them, and they don't feel that they belong to anybody. So, you know, they are just alone with their own mind, and it's getting more sick and sick all the time with no help.
So reach out to someone.
We now hear from American post-grunge band Switchfoot. They have been together for 21 years and they've released 10 albums.
There's a song on our last album called Hello Hurricane. It's the title track, and the theme of that song is everyone has trials that hit them. And if you haven't, you will. Sorry to say, life is not kind. Usually some trials and tragedy befalls all of us, and whether it be, you know, in the area of an actual hurricane, or maybe it's a relationship hurricane, or a divorce of your parents, or, you know, even loss of a job, or in this economy, there's plenty of people struggling with plenty of things, you know, and there's hope in that when you realize that this is not the end of the story. The hurricane is not the end, final word in the suffering. Suffering can play a role in our lives to sharpen us or break us down to build us up, or it can be a place where you find hope that you never knew existed. And so it's not wasted. And we're in that song, Hello Hurricane, the chorus says, as if you were singing to the hurricane, to that storm, you say, "You can't silence my love." That's kind of the strong statement there, where you know you're not going to win, storm. That's kind of the hope. So that's what I would say, you know, to people going through a storm right now, is to face the storms. Don't run from them. You know, realize that, you know, suffering is not easy, but it is necessary sometimes. But that isn't the end of the story. Okay, that isn't the end. That isn't where you live. It isn't true that people say, well, it's just always going to be this way. That's a lie, right, from hell, right? I believe that is, because it's not true. It isn't always going to be this way. And so you have to have the hope to know that it isn't always going to be this way. And so that's, to me, that's something that, you know, brings me hope when I'm in that.
Wow, what a great metaphor for a hurricane. Next we hear from American punk rock band Rise Against. They have been together since 1999 and they've released 8 albums.
I mean, these are things that we are familiar with, and certainly a lot of our fans are familiar with, and we get emails from our fans all the time, people that are going through a number of different issues in their own lives, and they'll come to the band because maybe the song has helped them out in a certain way, or, you know, they're just frustrated and they want to reach out to somebody. And I guess the one thing I would say to someone like that is that you're not alone. You know what I mean? You aren't a freak for feeling like this. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that people feel all the time, and especially in like a punk scene, you know, where you have a lot of disenfranchised and alienated youth, you know, and I was one of those kids, you know, and to some effect still am disenfranchised and alienated, you know. But I think that when I came into the punk scene and the hardcore scene, I realized that I wasn't alone. You know, I wasn't this freak of nature for feeling this. There was lots of people, lots of artists who felt like this, you know, and it's okay to feel like that, you know. I think that's part of, I think that things like depression are part of a natural cycle of life, you know. Nobody can be, you know, 100% happy and ecstatic all the time, you know. And so I think that said, it's like, I think that if you know that how you're feeling, you know, this isn't really, you know, anything strange about you, you know. It's something that happens to the whole rest of the world. If you can take that and take some sort of comfort in that, and then move on and find a way to channel those things.
Now we hear from alt-pop sensation Lights. Originally from Toronto, she has built a passionate fan base of over 2 million people and has released 3, soon to be 4 albums.
I think one of the things that I've learned in touring, when you tour, for example, your team around you sometimes changes, the people around you change, the people you have to learn to trust and be guided by to a certain degree changes, and you have to just accept those people. I think the worst thing, I remember when I first started touring, the worst thing I did was you start to close everything off because you don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
And you just close off into your own world, and you're like, I'm just going to do this. And the best thing you can do is the people around you, learn to love them and learn to let them in and learn to trust them and let them teach you and guide you what they know.
Yeah.
That will make everything a lot easier. The worst thing you can do is shut yourself in, and that will just get worse and worse and worse. I think the day that I just started opening up and trusting the people around me was the best day of my life.
Doc Walker is a country duo originally from Westburn, Manitoba. They have been performing together for over 20 years with great success. Let's listen in on what advice they have for youth.
You're not alone, and you can get help, that's for sure. Like back in the 80s and stuff when we grew up, I don't know how much availability like that there was, and we had lots of friends and things that had mental health issues, and they probably had nowhere to really turn. And now, even with the internet and with Google and with Mind Your Mind, it's pretty great, all the help that's out there.
Yeah.
And being musicians, I think a bit of advice we can give is just pick up a guitar or go play a piano, and it's a good way to spend your time, and it's a good way to express yourself, and in a weird way, it's a good way to get to know yourself.
Yeah,
as a person and as a writer. When you write these lines down and you play this certain sound, it's like, oh, I did that. That's weird. I didn't know I could do that. So you kind of become a little bit more familiar with yourself.
Next, we are going to hear from Canadian soul artist Carl Wolf. Let's listen in on what he has to say.
And just all that pain and wake up the next morning. But I have a trick. The trick is, no matter what happens and no matter how stressful it is, you can cry, you can break down that day, that night, as long as the next morning you wake up fresh and ready to go. You understand? You never carry it to the next morning. And that's been my trick. So if that can help anybody.
What a great way to validate your feelings, but ensure you keep moving forward. Next, we hear from Canadian pop band Down with Webster, originally from the Beaches.
Try and find something that you love to do that would be your hobby anyways. Like if you have a part-time job, what do you do when you're not at your part-time job? And if that can in any way parlay into a career, do that.
When you do something you love, work is no longer a dreaded task. Last but not least, we hear from Canadian pop band Stars.
Try to somehow find some sort of creative part of yourself that you can nurture. And I would surround yourself with people that inspire you. I know I got to do that as a kid. I got to play music at a very early age, and I surrounded myself with people who I found so creative, and that kind of made me better creatively. And there are still people that I play music with to this day, and some of my closest friends. So if it's music or cooking or painting, I would just, really recommend trying to surround yourself in that energy and find out what you're good at, and just kind of go lead yourself blindly into that.
I couldn't agree more. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire you can result in some amazing things. Wow, what great all-around advice for young people from such a wide range of artists. One common piece of advice among them seems to be get creative. I personally agree with this and think having something creative to channel your feelings into is really important. Recently, I decided to start writing things that resemble poems or slam poetry. I tend to start writing when I feel overwhelmed with any number of emotions. Sometimes it starts as a rant and gets worked out as I write, and other times I feel compelled to write about one topic. I find that after a few months of this process, writing has definitely helped me with my general mental health, and I encourage you to find a creative outlet. Whether it be music, writing, painting, drawing, DIY projects, or anything else, the possibilities are endless. And with my personal experiences, I wrap up the final episode of Mind Your Mind's inaugural podcasting season. It has been a blast creating these and sharing our past interviews with you guys in a new way. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mind Your Mind's podcast. If you like what you just heard and you found these tips helpful, don't forget to share and subscribe and to visit our website, mindyourmind.ca. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The links are in the description below.